Welcome to another episode of I'm Josh, saying where the knowledge, where applied knowledge is power. And I have a special, I'm talking about when I say special, like DJ Khaled say, special cloth alert. I have a special guest today that you all are going to really enjoy. He is really off the radar, and I really like to highlight people that are really doing big stuff that a lot of people don't know about. A lot of people, a lot of people was really shocked when I was on the radio, and they was like, "Man, who is somebody you look up to?" I'm like, "This guy." And they like, "Who is that guy?" But we're gonna get into that shortly. Let me pay some bills real quick. So. Thank you to our sponsors, Great Convo Media, where the chatter matters. Make sure you all go to greatconvo.com and subscribe to the I'm Josh Saying podcast, and also subscribe to all of the other podcasts that are on that podcast network. Also, I'd like to thank Sylvia Johnson Real Estate. So if you're looking to sell a home or buy a home and going into 2021, make sure you all call 615-476-2883. Also, Pivot Technology School, which is a 20-week accelerator teaching data analytics, web development, and cybersecurity. So if you're looking to get a career in technology, make sure you go to pivottechschool.com. Now that all that is out of the way,
yes, sir.
Man, I'm telling you, uh, this guest right here is going to really help you all think on a whole nother level. I met Deddrick Perry, I think it was probably like 5 years ago. So I own the dry cleaners, and I think he got connected with my business partner at the time, Tony Hurst.
Yeah.
And Tony was a part of
Nashville.
MMA.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Nashville
right.
MMA, and I think that's how I met Deddrick. And we've just really been building and talking. And let me just formally introduce. So Deddrick Perry is a private equity investor. He invests in small business. He is the money man. When it comes to small businesses and investing in small businesses, he has a whole ton of business. We won't be able to cover it this whole show. We will have to record probably like a 3-hour show to cover all of what he has his hands in. But I really wanted the I'm Josh Saying universe to really get engaged with this brother because you need to know somebody like Deddrick Perry. You need to have somebody like Deddrick Perry in your Rolodex. So y'all give it up for my man, my mentor. I call him the Oracle. He's the Oracle,
Thanks,
Mr.
man.
Deddrick Perry. Clap it up, man.
Gosh, wow, man.
How
How
you
you
been
doing,
doing,
bro?
my brother?
I'm doing great, man. Actually, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking, man. How are you? How's the wife and kids?
Man, everybody is doing well, man. It's been a funny time, a funny year when it comes to business, when it comes to just everything,
Right.
the tornado and just
Right.
everything in life has just been really kind of strange in 2020, but it's been like a huge growth for me personally. I think I've grown a lot when it comes to just me individually and then as a business person as well. So your hands are in a lot of
Yeah.
businesses. How has COVID really impacted you? And then really what are you kind of foreshadowing and what do you have planned going forward in 2021?
Well, man, before I get too deep into talking about me, man, I want to say that I'm really thankful to be your friend.
Yeah.
And I've been here right alongside you in 2020, man.
Yeah.
I've seen the growth. I've seen you overcome adversity that would have, quite frankly, broken weaker men. So
Yeah.
you definitely have my admiration and respect.
Yeah. Appreciate that, brother.
I'm really proud to see where this is at and pivot and everything, bro. It's amazing.
Yeah. Appreciate
Just
that, man.
what I'm saying, I'm very, very, very happy that I know you. Um, 2020, tough times don't last, tough people do.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that a lot of business owners, would be business owners, investors, got shaken to their very core.
Yeah.
And what comes out of this, we still don't really know. But what I believe is at the very beginning, when everything started to blow up back in like late February and March,
Hmm.
I had to make a real decision that no matter what happened, no matter how big or how small this COVID thing is, I'm going to be one of the winners.
Yeah.
Right. I just decided that day one,
Right.
no matter what happens, this is not going to defeat me.
Yeah.
It's not going to break me. It's probably going to get way crazier than I can even imagine,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to take a L.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
So from that day forward, I was just kind of on a, intentional mission in 2020 to make sure that this was a success. And, throughout the year, I've had to make difficult decisions, but when I think about it, I'm always making difficult decisions.
Right.
So, really, why is this any different other than, the condition of us being in a global pandemic? So I still have to move. I still have to make and do the right thing and be thinking about the big picture. So 2020 for me, was fraught with challenges, but overall, I would say I came out on top. This
Man,
this was a
come
blessing.
on. So let's dive into your story because I want people to really sit into who Deddrick Perry is,
Mhm.
where he comes from, how he got involved in business, what was his first business,
Yeah.
and then how did you matriculate to where you are today?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm originally from Joliet, Illinois. Um, I grew up, my father's an entrepreneur, my parents are pastors. And, he just kind of at a very early age exposed me. He was flipping houses when I was very young, and he would just expose me to business and how difficult it was sometimes to work with people, and then just doing the landlord thing. So through my father's real estate investing is really where I developed kind of a love for business and how business worked, and I got very interested. And I'm fortunate that he was able to support that by sponsoring me to go to and be a part of every type of business program or class or anything in school. He saw that I had an aptitude and an interest for something, and he really did everything he could to make sure that I was as exposed as I possibly could be.
Got you.
And from that experience, I probably approached college a little bit differently than most students at the time because I didn't view it as a pathway to success. I thought owning a business was success. I viewed it as an experience that I had really been waiting my whole life for. I went to Tennessee State University. I maybe hadn't been as I was probably prepared for college, but maybe not as prepared for the college experience. But my grandmother had went to Tennessee State University. My grandmother's uncle had attended Tennessee State University. I've probably got 15 ancestors and probably another 10 or 11 living relatives that went to Tennessee State University.
Wow.
So even the day I arrived there, I realized I had cousins that worked in the administration.
Yeah.
So, that transition from a high school kid that was, you know, just regular high school student who was really interested in business to, come into a loving environment like Tennessee State University, I think that was huge for me to build my confidence and to be exposed to a lot of different and creative personalities. From there, when I graduated from college, I was a missionary for almost 2 years, and I traveled back and forth to the Caribbean, and I supported local churches and families. Ironically, it's crazy how this comes full circle with healthcare, with identifying needs in the diabetic community, making sure that people on just kind of like an everyday thing get access to the insulin that they need.
Yeah.
It's
What was your
interesting.
what was your major at TSU?
I have a degree in English.
Okay, English. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
wasn't
So I
even
didn't.
in business.
No, not at all, man. Cause here's what mine like. Maybe I oversimplify things, but
Yeah.
my thought when I was 18 years old, okay, and granted, I've grown a ton since then.
Yeah.
But my thought when I was 18 years old was if having a degree in business could make me rich, why aren't there more people who are rich? Why
Yeah.
why is everybody that I know that has a business degree, why aren't they balling out of control? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean, and so I mean that literally was kind of like part of my deciding factor. I was like, well, let me just study something that I'm interested in,
Yeah.
as opposed to something that I believe, is going to lead to some, kind of like stair step professional accolade. I considered going to law school. And even the idea of furthering my education beyond undergrad seemed like it wouldn't be the best investment of my time. So, I threw myself into something that I was very passionate about that had a lot of risk, and I wanted to challenge myself to do something different, and I did. Um, from there, I was able to use some relationships to get into the advertising business in Chicago, and I worked my way into success, and the type of success that I think a lot of people would have looked at and said, "Wow, you really got yourself together. You own your own home," But I knew from that experience that there was more out there for me. There was a bigger type of success that was more meaningful and could really do more to impact me and my family's outcome. And one day I walked into my job with no planning, with no plan B, with no side hustle, with no nothing, and I quit.
Gotcha.
I
What
just
was, give me the dates on that. So,
it was I want to say it might have been like September 1st of 2000. It's like early two late no, like late 2009.
so
Um,
2009,
yeah,
you quit your job.
cold quit, no notice, no nothing.
So
Just walked in,
2009,
packed up my stuff and left. Yes. I
wow.
did
And then
I
you was in
did
Chicago.
everything. Yes, I did everything that you could imagine that anyone who ever would coach anybody in a professional environment to not do when exiting the job. I made sure that I did it. I made sure that I burned that bridge. I made sure that I didn't have access to that
Yeah.
because I knew I wanted to start a business. I knew it would be difficult. I knew that I didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't want to, revert back to where I was as an option.
Gotcha.
Right. I pretty much decided that this is what I wanted to do. So I was just going to do it. I was going to
Gotcha.
take, pull my resources and just do it. And I didn't want that to be available to me when things got difficult, and things did get difficult. And I'm thankful that I didn't have those relationships still in my pocket, or
Yeah, because you
maybe I
would have
wouldn't be
called.
here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe I
Yeah.
wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So
So in 2009, you was in Chicago. You
mhm.
left Chicago. Did you leave Chicago and come to Nashville?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what
I
was,
came back to Nashville.
okay.
I had kind of considered a few different cities. I had spent some time, on the West Coast. So I was, definitely thinking about Los Angeles. I was thinking about Houston, Texas, and Nashville. And Nashville just felt the most like home. I had the bigger network of the cities in Nashville. So the decision, when I really got down to like what was going to increase the likelihood of my success as an entrepreneur, I just felt like Nashville was a better look.
Yeah.
And I made the decision to move. Uh, and when I got down there, the entire city flooded,
Yep.
and like not in a matter of fact way. Like literally, I got there the day before it happened. Everything
Wow.
flooded.
Well,
uh,
then did the place that so when you came to Nashville, did you own your place or did you just
I had a house in Calumet City, Illinois, but I had already
okay?
had a tenant in there rented on
Okay, gotcha.
the. So, I'm on my homeboy's couch. Shout out to Wendell Patton, for really holding me down,
Yeah,
uh, because everything that I had set up was gone. My whole
yeah,
little game plan, as flimsy as it was anyway, was already rocked to the core. But what I believed was that throughout that tragedy that happened, that if there was anything that I could take from it, it was that this was my opportunity.
yeah,
This was it.
yeah,
Okay, like this, because what the hardest part for me at the time was trying to understand what the marketplace was doing and where I was going to get in and where I was going to fit in and what was going to be my lane. Um, by coming in the middle of a catastrophe, I noticed that people's strategy changes completely. They're focused more on the catastrophe than developing their business, which makes that, in my opinion, it made the opportunities a little bit more easy for me to find,
got you.
um, and a little bit easier for me to get in.
So I really want to dive into your philosophies because I know uh, DP has some philosophies that I really want to really like
Okay.
talk about because we're huge in the startup space. You know, a
Right.
lot of people want to start businesses. You know, that's the sexy thing right now. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur and
Right.
want to start their own business. But let's talk about the Deddrick Perry philosophy. I don't think Deddrick has ever started a business from scratch. Okay. And let's talk about how you got that philosophy
Mhm.
and really talk about how somebody else can implement that
Right.
philosophy.
Yeah. Um, you know, I'm again, I'm probably the biggest oversimplifier in the world. And for me, I had never owned it or operated a successful business before having actually done it.
Yeah.
So why, there was so much that I didn't know. It didn't make sense to me, really, to start a business from scratch if I was really serious about being successful when I knew that buying businesses was an option. I
Yeah.
knew that somehow leveraging business was an option.
Who put
Eh,
that? How did that thought come up? Because my thought was, yo, I'm gonna start a business. Let me go write a business plan. Let me go do this. Let me go do that. Like,
Right,
how did that thought come in that says I'm gonna come in the game and I'm going to buy businesses instead of
right.
starting from scratch?
So my last job, I was in advertising sales,
Okay.
and you know, I was doing it during the Great Recession of 2008, 2009,
Yep.
and I had a lot of success at it. And one thing that I noticed was that I had clients like many people in that industry at the time that went completely bankrupt immediately.
Yeah.
And what I noticed was what that process looked like usually involved some third party or someone there that was there to kind of like scoop up all of the assets. And I knew from how I understood that business's operations that it was still making money. They were still generating customers. They just the housing market just disrupted it enough to eat it away for a period of time, but that the person who bought it at such a small or low rate, they were really getting a value. And I knew that going into it. I knew right then, I was like, well, if I were to ever do this and I ever had the money to buy a business, that seems like that would just make way more sense than trying to scrape and figure out and find customers and do this and do that. Like, why would I want to do that? Like, when I can just buy one that's already got that and let me just figure out if there's a way I can make it better. Uh, and lo and behold, man, by taking that approach, I really believe that you know the people that I needed to meet, I met them,
Mhm.
and they really, in some ways, corrected, but in many ways, validated that assumption that to increase the likelihood of my success, that I'm really better served acquiring things that already have um, some existing revenue, some cash flow, some book of business, and that was actually better than trying to start something myself and figure everything out. I would let other people figure out the overwhelming majority of it, and then I'll just try to figure out the piece of getting the money to buy it.
And
Once you do that enough times, you kind of know how it works.
bro, that philosophy, and you're the one that really put that philosophy in my head and was like, yo, Josh, why do you keep wanting to just keep starting businesses? Why don't you just
Right.
buy businesses? And then somebody put that Reginald Lewis, I think his name was Reginald Lewis, why white men have all the fun and what
Right.
yeah, so I think it's like why do white men have all the fun or something. But he talks about how he bought
Yeah.
a
Oh, yeah.
business and then instantly became like the $1 billion worth company. So,
Yeah.
all right. So so the DP philosophy is you need to go and don't start it from scratch. Find whatever the industry you're trying to get in and purchase it. So
That's that's a statement, but the real philosophy is just
come
lower
on,
your risk at all costs.
come on.
And
That's
that
one.
and man,
This is a master course in Business 101 from the I'm Josh Saying universe, uh, university. So
right.
number one is lower your risk
At all costs.
at all costs.
At all costs. It, the
So
likelihood of failure is already high enough. So
Got you.
Anything you can do to, decrease your risk, the riskiest thing you can do as a business owner is start from scratch.
Yes. So
Bootstrapping is risky. It
it
just
really
is.
is. It really is.
It's
So what
risky.
was the first? So was Nashville MMA the first business that you started officially?
No, no. I actually, I had purchased a small bartending company, and I had a mentor at the time that was, kind of, again, the right people come into your life. He was kind of just showing me the ropes and helping me but better understand how business worked beyond just the operation piece, which I knew I needed to be good at, but what was the real outcome of this? How could I use business to really change my life? And what he showed me was just kind of like a very simple model for the life cycle of a business acquisition, which was very, very straightforward. Acquire, restructure, optimize, exit. And he just kind of drilled that thought into my mind. And I took a $5,000 investment. I took it out of my 401k and I bought this small business, very, very small business. And it was a bartending company that you would see, something you would see at like a private party or whatever,
Mhm.
ABC licensed servers, that type of thing, catering. We linked up with caterers or whatever. And, I had never done it before. I didn't know anything more than what, um, my mentor was showing me, and how to approach it and how to look at it. But I was able to purchase that business for $5,000,
Mhm.
make some changes to how it was run with the right advisement. And I think over like 5 or 6 months, I might have made $2,000 profit off of it. And
Mhm.
then I sold it for $11,000. So I made $6,000 more dollars on the exit.
Wow.
And so I really made two plus six, $8,000 plus the $5,000 I
Put
initially
it
put
in.
into it.
Right.
And you know, I had no real frame of reference into how business worked or if that was a great job or whatever. And you know, what my mentor told me at the time that stuck with me then, he said, "You see these numbers and what you did?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Like put a zero behind it. Put another zero behind it. Put another zero behind it. It's still true. It works the same way at $5,000 that at $5 million. Okay. The names change. Some of the jargon is going to change. Some of the people are definitely going to change, but the process is the same. And
Mm.
now you know how to do it. You
Wow.
know, and that's it. And he just let the lion out the cage. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
I'm like, that's it. Bet.
That was the Lion King moment right there, my
Let me
brother,
out.
because I think from that, I guess I didn't know that conversation took place.
Yeah.
So from that, you leveraged that, and then did you go to MMA from that, or
Oh
what?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually had acquired Nashville MMA from a really good friend, and he's my business partner now in hospital venture in Mexico. He had sold a part of that business at the time. It was a large mixed martial arts, a very boutique clothing line, but it was actually one of the most successful in the space.
Mhm.
And he got a 7-figure offer that he couldn't refuse and took it. And what was left was one of the largest mixed martial arts training facilities in the country. And it needed some major restructuring because it was largely being financially supported by this massive clothing line that it shared space with. And now that that was gone, it needed to run separately. And the owner who was left with this business just didn't have the passion to run it. And that was my opportunity to come in. um, and I acquired the business, him and my good partner, good friend Sean Hammonds. um, and we owned Nashville MMA for almost, at least my ownership tenure was from 2012 to 2016, I believe. Yes.
How much
Um,
was that? How much did you acquire that business for?
well, I won't disclose the amount that I acquired it for or what I sold it for, but it was 30 times is the number.
Okay.
So the exact number of whatever. Um, but 30 times was my exit plus all the money that I made while I owned it. So um,
Let me tell
but
y'all
you took,
something. I bring people on that's really got the bag. Okay. Like these are people that have done it before. And really, I want you to talk about, all right, so cool. I want to buy a business.
right.
how do I do that, bro?
Well, you just ask the owner if they're interested in selling. Look, Josh, you you and I both know that owning and operating a Main Street style business is a nightmare. Okay, it is terrible.
Yeah.
The day in and day out headache, and the employees and the customers and the marketing and the phones ringing and the taxes and the everything. If there were a way that you could just profit from the business without actually having to operate it, would you? Right? The answer to that question is, for I would say 8 out of 10 people who are operating businesses right now, the answer to that question is yes.
Yeah.
Right? If I could still be involved with it in some way, but not have to be responsible for the day-to-day operations, and there was just some management to it, uh, then yeah, they would do it. They would sell it. Um, and the beauty in that is there's a ton of opportunities all around us. I think that a lot of people are just afraid to have that conversation with people, or to bring it up. But I've operated a business before. I've operated multiple businesses, and hey, man, sometimes it isn't as glamorous as the internet would like for it to seem.
Yeah.
Sometimes it might be contributing to some of the mental health problems we might have.
Right. Right. It's tough, man. So
It's tough, dude. It's
structure
tough.
the deal. So
Right.
I call a business owner, say, hey, I want to buy the business. What should I ask for?
No, just say, hey,
How do I evaluate it? Like all of that stuff.
it's easy, man. If you network with people and you're networking with entrepreneurs anyway, which is what everybody tells you to do when you first get started. It's all about your network. Every piece of advice that you're going to get that's worth anything, for the most part, starts with network and the people that you surround yourself with. And if you're an entrepreneur, you probably, if you're not already, you're going to start hanging out with other entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
And a reasonable assumption that you can make is anyone who's seen some sustainable success is probably open to sell it, right? Everybody's kind of got a number. Everybody's got a number in their mind that if, boy, if somebody came and cashed me out, I mean, I sure would take this amount of money and move on. And the reality is, if you have an eye for valuation and you have an eye for management, especially mismanagement, you can find opportunities where maybe a friend or someone in your network could be dropping the ball on management, or maybe they're burnt out in operating the business. And there could be an opportunity to acquire it, or collaborate with them in some way, shape, or form that gives you as an investor or operator equity. Those are things that I wish more people would consider, is working together when you see that business friend, that entrepreneur friend that they're really doing everything they can to make it happen, but you just keep seeing them hit that wall emotionally, physically. It just takes its toll. Sometimes a breath of fresh air into the company at the top, what I'm saying, really could be the difference between making the same results you've always gotten that are beginning to diminish because your overall mental and physical health are diminishing, versus the new enhanced results you can get by taking on an influx of cash and energy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's just the brass tacks of it. I mean, there's, if you're serious about getting wealth, you're serious about getting money, at some point you're gonna have to use other people's money anyway.
Right.
Okay. This could mean the all or partial sale of your business. And that doesn't mean you can't buy it back.
Right.
Okay. If you're really that passionate about it, sometimes selling it might be a true test of that passion.
Yes. So do you take over? So when you acquire, companies and you put the deal together
Mhm.
and you figure out what's the best when it comes to really the offer, like how do you come up with the offer? Do you get their business books? Do you get like track their revenue, or is it something that, how do you evaluate their company?
Yeah, yeah, okay. So a lot of how I even hear about any of this stuff comes from referrals.
Okay.
And a lot of the people who make these referrals, they're the investors themselves, they're business operators. So they pretty much know, the key due diligence points that I would possibly ask to see if this was a viable investment, you know,
Got
and those kind of come with it. They almost, what I'm saying, it's almost like we're not gonna waste a whole lot of time doing a whole lot of digging, because you're only seeking collaboration with me because you believe that this is a viable option. Now, whether or not I do it is, of course, based on a number of personal factors, but it's only coming this way because we've already established that I need to see, EBITDA. I need to see balance sheets. I need to see past taxes, and any other relevant financial statements to make a decision. Um, so those things kind of already have to be out there, and we have to have access to those to begin to look. And then the value is based on what I believe the existing management can do, minus the owner, right? What do I think that the people who are operating the business can do, minus the owner? In most cases, that means there's going to be a significant drop off in business, and revenue, which actually benefits me because that's the grounds that I make to make my offer. Like, hey, this business can't sustain very long without you, so it's really not worth that much to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Got you.
saying? It's
Yeah,
really not
makes
worth that
sense.
much to anybody.
Yeah.
So,
So when you take
this,
over, so when you take over most like these operations, do you take over their whole accounting system when it comes to receiving revenue, paying their bills, like
oh
that
yeah,
nature?
all of it,
Because
all of
it's
it,
like,
yeah,
okay, gotcha.
yeah, oh yeah. So all of that kind of gets just encompassed.
Yeah.
And really, what I do is I bring in a management team or a group of investors or wannabe entrepreneurs that I've been coaching and mentoring on the side, and I just tee up the whole business for them as a deal where they have equity. They, I've already vetted the business as something that can make money if with the right people leading it. It needs more horsepower than it currently has. Here you go, and I place them right at the top.
Man, that's amazing, man. So I really want to talk about because not too many people know a lot of black men
Mhm.
that own a hospital. Okay.
Right.
And Deddrick is one of the co-founders or co-owners of a hospital that's in Mexico. And I really want to talk about that because I feel like us as, let's just talk about African American entrepreneurs, we put
Mhm.
ourselves in a box when it comes to really what we do in business. So, if you look at mostly everybody that are black business owners start the same type of businesses. All right.
Mhm.
Either they selling t-shirts, got a barber shop,
Mhm.
want to fry some chicken or fish, like our what we're getting into is the same things, and I feel like we have to expand our visions to
Mhm.
think bigger than just these mom and pop shops. So we have to start thinking Fortune 500. So from you leaving, getting a huge exit on Nashville MMA, like what made you think that, hey, I'm going to do business internationally and not just do business internationally, I'm going to go at the top of the food chain when it comes to business and open or own or purchase a hospital? Like, let's talk about that for a
Yeah,
second, man.
man. It actually starts really with being open minded. And when I acquired Nashville Mixed Martial Arts, his previous owner, my good friend and business partner Ed Clay, was trying to find like a some sort of resource or health solution for his mom who had a very severe form of rheumatoid arthritis. Kind of like has almost severely, uh, you know, not only deformed her joints, but is actually probably threatening her life at the time.
Mhm.
Just some of the treatments and things just really weren't good for her. And, they pretty much try everything from a conventional healthcare side. And he was looking just online. And, he had some experience with, natural medicine. And he knew that outside of the United States, there was a huge variety of what patients could have access to. And you know he was like, man, I think that there's got to be some sort of solution out there. And we both started to look. I looked, and I was thinking of a commercial opportunity in medical tourism as a way to better understand the marketplace. If I'm going to be looking at something or trying to figure it out, we might as well be getting a check. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I mean, I know that there's got to be some need or something that I can meet, while we're learning how all of this works, because it's not just your mom. It could be my mom. It could be my aunt. It could be anybody. It could be anybody I know. Right? This is something that's meaningful. This is impactful, and how can we shed a light on it? And how can we be compensated for that? And in looking into and researching the marketplace, not only did we find, what would be considered like an alternative drug treatment, which was our initial foothold and toehold into the market in Mexico, but in doing more further due diligence into the market, and which is what I spend a lot of time doing, is looking forward, doing due diligence on different opportunities, being diligent about that. I came across a hospital that was for sale, and to me, it was a no brainer. I mean, the price that was being asked, the hospital licenses, I mean, it was a doable amount of money to come up with. Um, and my two business partners and I, we scraped up the cash and bought it.
That is crazy.
And I mean, for me, I'm driven by this kind of very simple acquire, restructure, optimize. I'm driven by that. So the idea of buying something large, to scale only means that it's going to be a big success.
Right.
you know and the value for me is, I didn't go into this with a gazillion dollars, right? I was open because of the relationship between the United States dollar and the peso. I'm very glad that a lot of people are getting, an education in forex trading. I see a lot of that going on right now. The next step beyond understanding these relationships is actually owning things on the other side of that currency and
Yeah.
having assets. Just investing in currency volatility in and of itself is one thing, but understanding that relationship and being able to own things in the other currency is like a multiplier of that type of understanding. And knowing how much more buying power I had with US dollars in a peso market, um, made the acquisition and everything, you know, almost something you don't pass up.
Man. So we're talking about, can you disclose how much you paid for the hospital?
I don't
Okay.
talk like specific numbers, but it was doable. You know what I'm saying?
Let's
It was.
just say, man, I know the number. That's why I asked before I said the number, and I'm not going to say the number. But just know this
I
brother
know.
bought a hospital for a reasonable number, and he has pretty much 10x his investment. And I really wanted to have DP on or Deddrick on because we have to expand our minds in 2021 on how we do business, and purchasing businesses is a way to really jump into the market where you don't have to start from scratch.
Right.
You can use that same money that you was going to start from scratch with to go and purchase something that's already operating, that already has tax returns and things of that nature. So we have to start expanding the way that we do business. Now, Dedrick is a private investor as well. And I know a lot of people are going to be looking for capital going into 2021. And how do they, oh, yeah. So let's talk about your lending business. Can we talk
Yes.
about that?
Sure. Of course.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about your lending business, and let's talk about what do you look for in small businesses that are looking for capital to help grow what they're currently doing.
Perfect, man. So yeah, about 4 years ago, again, being encouraged by a mentor to, start a practice of private lending. And the rationale was, if I began to think like someone who is profiting from the finance of companies, that I'll become better at what I do. Okay. And it was a way of gaining some significant perspective while making money.
Yeah.
And, I started again, $5,000 investment, and I started making $1,000 loans to small businesses, very small businesses. And, even at such a small dollar amount, I went through the process of making people fill out documentations, provide me with I structured the inside of my business. I pursued whatever licensing needed to be pursued to do what I was doing. And what I learned from it has been really invaluable, and how to understand the real value of a business. And again, being able to look at financials and avoid risk at all costs, and lower my risk at all costs by looking at it not just from the perspective of an entrepreneur, but looking at it almost from the perspective of a bank and someone who loans money for a profit. Okay, I think having those two different perspectives and looking at a business allowed me to really lower the risk or see where certain risks lie, that might not always be prevalent to the person that's making the presentation. But that's for me to decide. The lending practice started off with that small investment. It's grown significantly as I've added more. As I've seen the return on my investment, it has encouraged me to invest in this even more. Um, and I've gotten my friends involved in it. A lot of people who've always wanted to be entrepreneurs, they've never really had that lane, or maybe family and things, they want to keep the security of. I get it, I get the insurance piece, all of that. um, this is a way for them to kind of understand entrepreneurship, make an alternative type of investment by investing in unsecured business debt and get a good return, and feel entrepreneur, feel like, get a feel for if this is something you think you could do in the future. And if so, you will have gained a perspective of how to finance the business first.
Yeah.
Imagine going back to before you started your first business. What if you already knew how to give businesses loans and finance them before
Man.
you started? How much, what I'm saying? How much more wealthy would you be now? So,
Right.
that's one of the trades that I've picked up along the way that I like to share with people, is not just, how to get access to the money. That's, what I'm saying, that's a short-term concern. It's more like teach a man to fish. And really, how do you be the provider, be the lender and not the borrower? Let me
Right.
show you how to do that. You might have whatever short-term financial concern, and that's cool. And we can, work together to resolve that. But really, what I like for people to know is how to actually issue loans to their friends and finance their friends' dreams and see a return on it, you
Yeah.
know, because sometimes people don't want to share equity, and that's fine.
Right.
And let me put you in debt then, and I can profit that way, whatever works. So, and that type of relationship, people can't be afraid of it. You can't be afraid of debt. You can't, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
personally, it makes you reevaluate how you look at things, like how I pursue debt and capital. I can't, it would be completely hypocritical of me to say, oh, I don't want to take out any loans. I don't want to be out on debt or anything like that. And I'm out here issuing loans and putting folk in debt. Come on now.
Ah.
So my mind has got to be, if I think it's good enough for them to help them in their business, it's got to be good enough for me to help me in mine.
Yeah.
And
So
I
you,
see how it works. I see how it helps people, and I see how it gets people to the next level. And I see how it's helped me and how it's got me to the next level.
man, that's amazing, man. So let's look into Foresight 2021.
Mhm.
What should entrepreneurs be gearing up for? What are some opportunities that you see in the space? So if I want to, look into purchase a business, what opportunities are you seeing out there that I should be engaged in?
Mhm.
And then really, how should I be prepared going into this new year?
Got it. Yeah. So I think one of the biggest opportunities out there is mobile healthcare. This is like everything from mobile dialysis, mobile MRI, pretty much think of anything that, someone over the age of 55 or 60 would have had to go to a clinic to get, that maybe wasn't necessarily essential, but was a part of their ongoing treatment. If that can even possibly be delivered to them mobile, I believe there's going to be a shifting in how insurance works. And I think a lot of, again, the insurance company minimizing their risk by not having people who are perhaps vulnerable to virulent disease coming into one place, but instead taking those services to them, because they still need the dialysis, they still need the MRI, taking those services to the customer. I think that there's going to be a whole wellspring of businesses that provide those services. Likewise, I think that there's going to be somewhat of a constriction, or a shrinking of the nursing home model because of COVID. I actually think we're already seeing it, and I believe what's going to happen is a lot of that transfer is going to go into the assisted living business model, which in many ways allows for more private owners.
Gotcha.
So I think, any if you've ever been involved in like any type of group home, transitional home, any assisted living, yeah, I think people who have that type of experience and can get access to the real estate to cascade a business model, can really build some significant equity and wealth. If and it's pretty turnkey because it's really heavily regulated to begin with.
Hmm.
So with the right operators and the right team of people, I think even somebody who's never owned a business before can be very successful in the assisted living space, dealing with seniors, especially if they already have real estate. This would be a great transition to get a higher yield for people who are already landlords, already got a couple houses.
Yeah.
It'd be a great transition to go from that maybe 5 to 7% that you're getting off conventional landlording to maybe 20 to 22% that you could be
Yes.
getting off assisted living on the low end.
Yeah.
So for people who are thinking it like that, if you're thinking about like how can I change my business model, um, maybe taking in somebody and creating a kind of like a healthcare component to it would be a way to do it. And I think that the market is ready. It has to happen that way because people aren't going to be sending their loved ones to nursing homes in the same way. It's just not going to happen. So there's space for that for sure.
Awesome, man. So what type of deals are you looking for or looking to invest in? And then how can someone get in contact with you when it comes to your lending practice and really
Okay.
your consulting business as well? Because he does consulting as well. It's not free; it's charged consulting, but he can really, take you from zero to a million real quick. Like Drake says, 0 to 100 real quick.
Hey.
Dedrick really has the blueprint to making that happen. So, what businesses are you looking to invest in? What type of businesses are you looking to invest in 2021? And then also, how can someone get in contact with you in regards to, doing business with you?
Okay. So the near term investment more recently that I just made was I invested in some tax franchises in Southern California, and
The Jackson Hewitts.
yeah,
Okay,
Jackson
I
Hewitt,
knew you was talking about it. I didn't know
yeah,
if you.
Jackson Hewitt tax franchises.
Okay.
And the whole idea is that hey, with COVID and people getting this EIDL money, they're gonna be scared to do their taxes. I think there's gonna be an uptick. That the bet that I'm making with this investment is that there's gonna be an uptick in people who opt not to do their own taxes
Yeah.
within the target market of a tax franchise.
All right.
And since it doesn't require me to really do any work or provide any thought or anything other than to cut a check, and maybe provide some guidance at a very high level. I think that this is going to be a huge return for me, and as we scale that out to a chain of stores. Um, I like it also because it only operates 4 months out of the year, so I
Right.
don't have to pay my employees or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So
I always wonder. So how does that work? They operate 4 months. What are they doing? They just close the store? Or do they
yeah,
stay open for
yeah,
other?
they're closed. So there's pretty much a mandate to the franchisees that you have to have a certain amount of hours after the season's over because it's a seasonal business. It only does tax preparation. So once that season's over, you have to keep 8 hours a week staffed. Okay, which is it could be as
Okay.
simple as one person going in there and chilling for 8 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't. You're not open. You're not really actively doing anything. Maybe if you have them doing some calls, some follow up calls with past customers or whatever, but it's just there as part of their corporate mandate. So, but yeah, they're essentially closed. You know what that number is, for that 8 hours, and you just build that into the budget of operating. So that's just part
Gotcha.
of it.
That is awesome. And how does somebody get in contact with you in regards to the lending practice and the consulting practice?
Man, you know what? This is as crazy as this sounds, man. You got to know somebody who know me. Like
You
straight up.
are right about that. Hey, that is a
Man,
I'm Josh saying moment. That is a I'm Josh saying moment. Say that one
look.
more time, bro.
You got to know somebody that know me. Like I'm not out here like throwing my number. I have a whole inbox full of business proposals. I have an inbox full of people asking for money. I'm not hurting for business. What I do is very valuable. I'm not bragging, but I also not gonna turn my light down, because of how other people feel. And just I don't feel the need to do that type of self promotion. If you know someone that knows me, or you can get on if you're that passionate about it to find somebody that knows me and they think that they should introduce you to me, cool. Then we can
Yeah.
talk. If not, then hey, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, this is the oracle talking. You know what I'm saying? You have to know. who knows the oracle? Okay, the oracle does not give his telephone. I brought the oracle on to talk to y'all to let
Right.
you know that y'all
Right.
better
Just slide on.
find out who knows the oracle, because you're gonna be able to get game knowledge and information that you need to really thrive. And we're gonna try to take this thing, not try, we're gonna take this thing in 2021 to the next level. I think we have an opportunity with all this racial injustice and everything going on to really capitalize
Yeah.
on your blackness. Okay. It's not going, it only happens a few times in decades. Okay.
Right.
Right now, we're in that moment. So if you sleep at the wheel, you're going to miss out on a huge opportunity to really take advantage of what's going on in the business landscape. And man, it's happening. It's a lot happening. And we got to think bigger. We have to take risk, and we have to lower our risk, you know,
At all costs.
at all costs. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Lower
Mhm.
your risk at all costs. And when you're looking to evaluate your businesses, really look into their books, their management, and everything else. But let's stop starting businesses from scratch. If you can go and buy, if you want to open up a grocery store and you can go and figure out how to buy Kroger, it's probably best you go ahead and figure out how to buy Kroger. They already been in business for 20, 30 years. They have a reputation. And that's really how I want to do business, going into my years. I'm not working hard no more, bro. It's over, bro. That
I
hey,
told you. Hey, I told you, man.
no,
I'm
it's
like, Josh,
over,
you working
bro.
too hard, man. Come on.
Bro, it is over. It's over. I'm gonna invest and be on the beach
Yes.
with Deddrick Perry.
I'm here
Okay.
for
Hey, let me tell you
it.
something. This man is on the beach and his money is working. He has a whole major hospital. And I think we have to really get out of the operation mindset and
Yes.
really think about the investor mindset and really protecting your investment and really, overseeing your investment, but not be so much in the grunt work. This man told me he worked 8 hours a week.
Well, it was a little bit more than 8, but I'm not trying to work 40. And I'm
Yeah.
willing to do that,
Yeah.
what it takes. But I had to ask myself the question, if it takes that, should I be doing it?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? If it takes me to put this much energy into it, because I'm not doing it to feel validated. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need that type of validation to feel like, oh, I worked so hard and I built this thing. Like, I don't. That's not why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, if I am really working that hard, is it really worth it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Is it worth it?
That's
Uh,
that's that's dope, bro. Well, I'm glad I was able to have you on, man, and really talk about your story and all the things that you have going on, man. You are a true visionary leader in the business space, and a lot of people don't. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people don't know Deddrick. Okay, he stays very, very low. He is not the social media influencer that you see people posting this and posting that, and they got to show their car and they got to do.
right.
Deddrick Perry wants to fly under the radar, and he's doing a successful job, and he's very successful in business. So I just want to just show people that are really doing it and showing you that you can do it a different way. We are not all the same. We can do it different ways, but at the end of the day, we can still be successful. And that's what I want to leave y'all with the I'm Josh Saying podcast, man. So make sure y'all tap into Deddrick. The Oracle has spoken. He said, hey, if you know somebody that know him, get connected to him, and you can figure out ways to get lending for your business, as well as private investment, things of that nature. So make sure y'all continue to subscribe to the I'm Josh Saying podcast. Make sure you tap into great convo media where the chatter matters. All right. Peace.
Love you, bro.